everyone, welcome back to Geeks Not Nerds. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
Today's topic comes from Eric. Eric, what are we talking about that fits with our Halloween horror theme for this week's Omnibus?
We're going to talk about if there's a place for like horror superhero comics. Specifically Marvel and also films. Specifically Marvel and DC, because obviously there's a place for horror comics.
Yeah.
All of Scott Snyder's creator run work is like that. Walking Dead's a huge success. Most of Kirkman's horror stuff is to some degree successful, like Outcast is still going, stuff like that. So obviously horror comics are successful, but like we used to have a bunch of like horror comics at Marvel and DC, and we don't.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange can't keep a book. Ghost Rider can't keep a book. We haven't even attempted a Tomb of Dracula.
Well, and those would almost be separate topics, right? Because obviously, I think arguably the genre of comics, the medium of comics, is working for every kind of genre for the most part. Mm-hmm. Especially with so much creative own stuff.
Is there a place for mainstream?
But I think separately, the thing that I suddenly fixate on when you mention that is whether there's a place for horror stuff and even any other kind of genre in the middle of superhero stuff already. When you're talking about Marvel horror stuff, it's usually also in continuity with the superhero stuff, and does that work? And it has in the past, but how do we feel about it now? But with movies, that's definitely a big question of can you do a straight up horror thing in the middle of a pre-established shared universe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With the movies, I think it can be really difficult because just tonally, you can get away with it with a TV show. Like Netflix could do a Marvel show that's they could do a Tomb of Dracula kind of thing that's more of a horror thing.
Yeah,
and it wouldn't be weird.
Well, and also the Netflix stuff is already so separated out from the movies, where it's technically in the same universe, but with their street level stuff, we talk about this all the time. They're doing straight up rated R. Harder edge stuff, and so you wouldn't even really bat an eye that hard if suddenly they did a horror thing there. But the kind of the hardest edged thing that Marvel's done so far in their movies is Black Panther. I don't think you'd ever see it in MCU, but
no.
But can you do? Because it seems like we're attempting this with Sony. Where, with the Venom thing...
And then the next one's going to be Morbius.
Yeah, and then they're talking about basing their Kraven movie on Kraven's Last Hunt, which is also... But kind also, it's an origin thing, which is already kind of horror-ish, and it's definitely, creepy and really atmospheric. So, yeah, I think... If the quality of it is right and you sell it to the right audience, I think that can work easily. Mm-hmm. With Disney, it's a moot point because I just don't even think it would happen. Could it work? Could you sell it? Yeah, absolutely, sure. I just don't think they would ever do it. But starting from scratch and making a shared superhero, darker rated R horror universe, I think you gotta not try to sell it to everybody.
It would be interesting if Marvel did a film series that's not in the MCU, where they did Tomb of Dracula and Werewolf by Night and you do a Blade movie and
yeah, because these are things
you put Moon Knight in there.
Yeah, because
and do it as an R-rated line of Marvel films.
Yeah, because these are things that I don't immediately think, well, it must be a miniseries or an ongoing series before it's a movie. It would be kind of a shame if some of those things never got a shorter, crisper 2-hour treatment, right? That might be a thing you want to see, but if it's stretched out to 10 episodes and it didn't need that much, then that would be kind of unfortunate.
MCDU, where it's the Marvel Cinematic Dark Universe.
It's just. Yeah, and it's in the same universe, but it's just, underground. I just
want everyone else to do Dark Universe before Universal gets to do it again.
What I think would be cool is... Well, let me backtrack and say, obviously Fox is already attempting this. We just don't know what New Mutants is going to look like. Fox is already... they had... And, of course, they're getting bought out by Disney, and so who knows what's going to happen down the road. But they had the right idea immediately with Deadpool, because they allowed that to get made. They didn't understand it. But then allowing Logan to happen oh, we can have a shared universe with a bunch of different kinds of things in different genres. Now, I talk about this all the time with MCU, how well they've played in different genres, but you can make the argument, yeah, but they're still wholesome enough. They're still, like...
There's a tone across all of them.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So, like, we'll play around with different kind of ideas of genre, but
Deadpool, Logan, and what New Mutants looks like
completely different things. Yeah, and then versus the X-Men movies they've made already.
Yeah.
The 4 totally different things. Yeah. So like it seems like they had the right idea with that. I don't know if I would even want like a straight up horror universe where you couldn't do other things in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I like and of course they kind of get away with that somewhat because they're not even worried about continuity, so they're just making movies, and I guess that's kind of nice. Honestly, I think DC's liable to do it before anybody. Now, think about it. I mean, think about it. Like their Joker movie is probably going to be halfway a horror film. Like,
I don't think so. It's probably going to be like a crime film, right? That's what they talk about. Like it's going to be like Taxi Driver.
Okay, but I mean, they could have horror elements. I guess I don't know exactly what they're making with that.
Yeah.
Like I was imagining like kind of a, you know, from the mind of a serial killer kind of movie.
Oh, okay.
Like,
no, I assumed it would be a bad person slowly going mad.
Well, sure, but once he goes mad, it could be terrifying.
That's true.
You know,
that's true.
Who knows? But I mean, I'm just saying, like if they, and this wouldn't be shared universe stuff, but if they start making more movies, like I don't want to count them out yet. If they start making more movies that aren't inside a larger shared universe, and they go for a bunch of different kinds of genres, and they're not scared finally to do rated R stuff, and I think that Joker movie's got to be R.
I assume so.
Then we might get exactly what you're talking about.
Well,
they might start doing this kind of stuff.
And if they do like Elseworlds,
yeah.
Because there was talk about Superman Red Sun, you can do Batman Vampire, things like that.
Yeah, no, that would be really cool.
DC unfortunately doesn't have the deep staple of horror that Marvel does, or at least theoretically, like they have Swamp Thing. Oh, Man-Thing can also be in the Man-Thing can also be in the Marvel Cinematic Dark Universe.
Well, and there's still a lot of talk about the Dark Justice League thing, Justice League Dark.
That's true. Yeah, well,
of course, Constantine is a horror character.
And I guess you can make that work. It just doesn't leap out to me immediately the same way. Yeah.
You just want more stuff from Marvel because it's because they have more traditional monster stuff.
That's true. I don't immediately think of, and I don't think of John Constantine as part of the DC universe.
Oh, sure.
Because for so much of it wasn't. I mean, he is a little bit like, Zatanna hangs out with him and stuff.
But to be fair, like Warner's did make that movie, and I mean they changed it a lot from the comics, but they did make a, kind of a horror thing.
Yeah.
And I would say that it was that a rated R thing?
That was rated R.
Yeah.
A real soft R.
Yeah.
One F-bomb.
But it would have been a real hard PG-13.
Yeah, it would have been. It probably would. If that movie came out now, it would be PG-13.
It would be PG-13. Yeah, that's why I can never remember that.
Yeah. Well, it might be R just because he smokes. Or they'd get a real hefty fine. But or
they just couldn't put him on TV.
He gets cancer. There's consequence.
No, I know.
What's the? I mean, I guess they've got that iVampire book. You remember that?
Yeah.
Launched in New 52, which apparently is an old book from like the 70s. I'd never heard of it.
Yeah, and then they made the iZombie show.
That's true. That's not DC Cinematic, but yes.
But it is, yeah. But I'm just saying DC
well,
does have.
DC,
I'm just saying DC does have some of those properties where they can do those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it seems like horror in general is just way more mainstream than it ever used to be. At least horror ideas, right? So like, I think now is the time to do this kind of stuff, and I think people are more likely to accept it in any of these genres. And I would love to see MCU go there and really get their feet wet and not feel like everything they do has to appeal to every audience. I mean, I've praised them before for making things accessible where they can win people over on certain genres, but people have complained about how, not all their movies, but how some of their movies still kind of hold to a particular superhero formula, and you get to the third act and you have to have the big superhero versus villain action scene. And I do think it's hard to tell a superhero story without having that. You can naturally arrive to that before it just feels formulaic. Like, well, of course, this is where this would go. It felt that way to me with Black Panther. Well, this is where this would go. you know, I mean, I feel like...
And Black Panther is one of the
with-
least formulaic of those. It's not like a big thing in this. Like, it's a war.
Yeah.
It's not just the big conflict at the end, earth-shattering. It's... The Earth isn't at stake at all. Well, I guess it kind of is with the ships. That's the most formulaic, right? The planes that they have to shoot down.
But then my other go-to for this is always, of course, Winter Soldier, where
Which is
like
much
we're like,
smaller.
yeah, you have like a Captain America versus Winter Soldier thing, but it's not like he's the mastermind behind the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's personal, and there's an internal conflict on top of an external conflict, and,
Mm-hmm.
yada yada.
Yeah.
But like, I think it would be really gutsy for them, and I don't see them ever doing it. I think it would be really gutsy for them to finally make some movies that aren't necessarily for everybody. But I think if you did some rated R, closer to horror stuff with Marvel, it either needs to be in MCU but doesn't matter that it's in MCU. I don't think it can be too connected because that
No,
would
of
be
course
unfortunate for families and kids to
Well, that's what I'm saying. It
go
should
to.
be able to be... Like, it should almost be a second universe, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I
So
wonder
that's
if they'd
what I
be
would do with
crazy enough
that.
to try that.
But I also
You
think...
know what will happen if they do, right? They'll just get David Goyer. And it won't be that good.
that would
They'll
be...
just give it to David
I don't think
Goyer.
MCU would do that.
I don't know.
But I also think it would be cool, now that we're talking about this, to do like a Marvel anthology show.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And maybe it's not even the same thing all the time. Like, you could do a horror anthology show, or you could just do a Marvel show.
Yeah.
And you could do superhero sometimes, and horror sometimes, and...
I would love an anthology show just called Marvel Horror.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
That would be awesome. They have a lot of cool stuff. And also, Blade's on the table. We don't know what's happening with Blade, but Blade's on the
They
table.
keep talking about it. and
Wesley Snipes
is
keeps giving
involved.
updates.
He wants to do
and
something,
Says
yeah.
they're working on two Blade projects, 3 Blade projects, something like that.
That's weird.
My assumption is it's a film and a TV series.
Probably
Or something
so.
like that. Or maybe like an album.
I mean, I do think you could make a... I mean, I do think...
Spoken word by Wesley Snipes.
I do think you can make a better TV show,
Well, yeah.
you know, and people... But I'm just saying, and people might watch it,
Yeah.
you know.
You can make something where I'm not falling asleep through the pilot.
And it would be nice for Netflix to finally go to more supernatural stuff beyond just a guy whose fist glows.
I also think that one of the biggest problems with that Blade TV show is that it came out in like 2006 or 2007, which is like 7 or 8 years past when like leather was cool.
Yeah.
Like Blade Trinity is pushing. Blade 2 is pushing. This is still cool. Like, just you gotta reinvent that.
No, that joke in Deadpool is still funny because of that. So what did you, with the remaining time, what did you want to say about comics? Just where we are with that right now.
Well, when you look back at the 70s, and even more recently, at work a couple months ago, we got a plethora of like books I'd never heard of that were horror anthology books from Marvel and DC, where it was like, I knew about House of Mystery, but we got like a bunch of them that I'd never heard of that were like Marvel and DC. And I was like, oh, we really used to do horror comics. We used to do... and then obviously Marvel, big time, had Tomb of Dracula and Werewolf by Night and Frankenstein's Monster, I think is what that third one's called. And they had a horror magazine, and like, the horror used to sell. And Ghost Rider and all of that. And Doctor Strange books were kind of horror-y and horror-ish. And Doctor Strange can't hold a book. Even when Jason Aaron's writing it, Doctor Strange can't hold a book past like 30 issues. Ghost Rider can't hold a book.
And when it does, Doctor Strange can be more of a superhero book than it is.
We don't attempt
horror
Blade
sometimes,
for some
right?
reason. We gave it to Mark Guggenheim once, and it was Mark Guggenheim, so it didn't
of course
work.
it wasn't great. Yeah, I don't understand that. I feel like Blade is pretty easy.
I
to
would
do
think you would just
a regular ongoing.
keep trying Blade, right? Like,
Yeah.
Blade seems like the book where Blade keeps not making it past issue 8, but we keep trying. Like,
But it seems
at,
like
at worst.
Am I wrong about this? Has it just been canceled a lot? I thought more often Blade was just a miniseries in the first place. We don't even try monthlies that much with it.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is we haven't even really done miniseries.
Yeah.
We did an ongoing by Mark Guggenheim in like the mid to late
But even
2000s.
in the 90s, like, you'd see books that went like 7 or 8 issues.
No, because in the 90s we have the Midnight Suns thing. So Morbius is a book that runs like 30 issues. I guess we did do this also in the 90s. Ghost Rider, and then Spirits of Vengeance with the Ghost Rider spin-off.
Right.
And then Blade is part of the Night Stalkers, which is Blade.
I know all that,
Drake,
but
and,
he had a couple of books with his name on them that didn't go very long.
yeah,
I have them.
I wonder if they spin out of Night Stalkers or if that's a separate thing.
I'm not sure.
Because that's where we put him in leathers in the 90s, because of course it is.
I know I've mentioned this before, but it really cracks me up that there's a Marvel encyclopedia that says that the recommended reading, or like the necessary reading for Blade, is the Blade 1 and 2 like comic book adaptations of the films.
Which isn't... That is one of those things where, like it almost... I don't want to say ruined it because I like those movies, but, like, I will never get Blade with wooden knives and, like, a green coat again. I don't need the afro.
That's true.
Although the afro's fine. I don't need the yellow glasses, but, like, I kind of want old Blade. I have a very distinct... If I could do Tomb of Dracula, like, I have a very distinct vision of what I would do if I went to Marvel for that. But...
And would you argue that Blade is one of those characters that fits okay with the superhero stuff?
Yeah, he was in Defenders.
Kind of like Ghost Rider. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Remember he just weirdly walks in and says, "Hey, your husband owes me another favor," and then he leaves.
I forgot about that.
And he never comes back.
I have all that, but I haven't finished it. I only read the first 5 or 6 issues. Yeah, that was weird. And I thought maybe he was going to be part of the book.
I didn't finish that book, but I don't think he comes back.
It would have been okay to put him on the team. I mean, that would have been cool.
Yeah.
At least eventually.
And he was also on that one Avengers team. He was Ronin for a little while.
But I think he as an anti-hero is easier to mix up with your superheroes even more than the Punisher is, I think, because the Punisher is like a regular mortal guy who, when he shows up, the superheroes feel like they gotta try to put him in jail. Blade, they can't really do as much with.
You know what would be a fun little story to do with Blade? You take a teen character like Miss Marvel or something, right? And you have them stumble upon Blade murdering, or like killing a vampire, but they think he's murdering someone.
Yeah.
And then they have to find out vampires are real. That could be fun.
Yeah.
I think Dracula's trying to take over the world. It's like, it's dumb. But
yeah, I mean,
we
in the
keep doing
comics,
that.
that's weird because they already know.
Well, we always do that. It's always really vampires.
And then just Jubilee shows up and she's like, "What, did you think mutants were a myth too?"
Yeah, yeah.
Can you think of another character like this, especially at Marvel, where we have a character that gets really popular in the movies? I mean, I still think there's people that don't realize that Blade is based on anything.
You're probably not wrong.
Do we have anybody else like this who gets really popular in movies, but the comic books don't want anything to do with him? I can't think of one other one. Like, maybe characters where they had a popular series at one time, and then it fell off, and the movie was kind of popular, but we didn't really go back to it. Guardians is like that. Like, we have Guardians books, but, like, people don't talk about them a whole lot.
Yeah, it would...
I can't think of another character
it would
where
it would be like if we continued to not publish Guardians comics.
Yeah, exactly. Because, I mean, Blade was fairly successful on film.
Yeah, yeah. No, those movies are big. The third one less so. I don't think that movie makes a lot of money, but, like...
Well, you think about it.
Everyone knows Blade.
We had a trilogy of
Everyone
movies.
of a certain age knows Blade.
Yeah, we had a trilogy of movies that was based on a character that didn't have popular comics.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I knew him from was the animated Spider-Man show.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we keep adapting him, but we can't keep him in comics? That's so weird.
It's very strange. And we throw things in like Whistler and stuff, and that's not part of the comics.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if we have anyone else. Human Target.
Yeah. He got 2 short-lived TV shows. Hey, the second one made a whole 2 seasons. And I'd never heard of that before. This happens sometimes where there'll be a thing that's like based on the popular comic. I'm like, that is BS. That comic was not popular.
Yeah. No, I can't think of I guess Kingsman's gonna be like this.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's almost not fair to put in the same category,
no,
right?
It's not.
Because
they're developed
it's
simultaneously.
invented at the same. It's invented to be a movie in the first place at the same time it's invented to be a comic book. That's not even like.
Which is why the credit they're based on is weird.
Yeah, it's not even like that one's weird because it's not even like we did a thing with Mark Millar where like he makes a book hoping to get option. It's option before anybody's even read it, right?
They come up
make
with the idea
screenplay
together.
and they make a comic book. It's not based on the comic book. It's 2 separate things that come out simultaneously.
Matthew Vaughn and Mark Millar both come up with the idea, and then they both go develop the idea separately.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting, and we just don't, like... I assume we just don't have, like, a legal way to deal with that, so we just say based on. We don't have to create a new parameter for crediting things, right?
Yeah, I'm sure that's all that is.
But no, I can't think of anyone else that's like...
Tangentially related to this other comic.
That's like Blade in that way.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know why Marvel hasn't, like, ran with that. Now,
and Marvel's...
they will if he comes back.
Yes.
Because they always do that. And Black Panther is suddenly all over the place in comics.
And Marvel's so...
I don't know how well they're selling, but Black Panther is in everything right now.
Yeah. And Marvel's... Sure, he's getting wrong.
And we did it with Venom. We just published 1 million Venom things. but it already had a
Marvel's
series
so
that was pretty
throwbacky
popular.
and cutesy right now. I don't know why we don't just have a book that looks like a 70s comic book with Blade. Like, that seems to... I keep waiting for that. Because there's so much about the, like, you never thought you'd see this? I'm waiting for the book where I turn the page, it's 70s Blade. Like, I'm waiting for that.
Yeah,
it's just not happening.
We did that Gendy Tartakovsky Luke Cage thing.
Yeah.
Why don't we do something like that with Blade? Or why don't we do, like, Blade and Luke Cage teaming up? That sounds like a good duo.
We did have a miniseries I didn't know about. I still need to read. I've heard it's terrible. But it's that Howling Commandos team that showed up in Old Man Logan for 2 issues. They had a mini.
Weird.
It's the Howling Commandos. And it's like a werewolf and I think Man-Thing and something else.
Strange.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what else DC had that I liked quite a bit? I didn't read a ton of, but I liked what I read of it. They had what was it? I Frankenstein? It's just I Everything.
Yes.
Is
No,
that
it's
what
not.
that
It's
is
not.
called?
It's Frankenstein.
No, Agents of Shade. Agent of Shade.
Which I didn't read. It looked like Hellboy. That's Jeff Lemire.
Is it?
Yeah, and he says
that was before I knew Lemire. So
he left that book to do Justice League Dark, and he deeply regrets it because he had so much fun writing that book.
Well, Justice League Dark was really good too, but
well, it starts as Peter Milligan.
Oh no, that's true. That's true. He comes to it later, and I don't think I read his stuff.
Yeah.
Now that you're saying it's been 5 years. Yeah. Okay, let's go on to rants, Eric. Unless you had any other thoughts about that whole thing, we just kind of wanted to explore whether that can be done and if it's a good idea. I mean, I guess real quick, I'll just wrap that up by saying like, yeah, but I don't know who's going to try it. I think we're more likely to get things based on horror stuff that stand alone than in a shared universe. I don't know how important it is that it's in a shared universe, but what do you mean?
Like if we start adapting that stuff, you'll start seeing comics. But I would love it if Marvel came out and did like just tried a line of they did Morbius and Blade because Morbius also keeps getting books for some reason and they keep not selling. But do like a push where you do like we're doing a Blade book and a Morbius book and a Man-Thing book and a something else book and a Ghost Rider book and we're gonna create a line, a small little line, kind of like Young Animals or what DC tried to do with Wildstorm. I don't think that was super successful. But
it wasn't.
I've heard nothing but great things about those books. People love them; they're just not selling, which is the legacy of Wildstorm.
But real quick, movie-wise, I'm just worried that Fox isn't going to get to keep doing what they've been doing.
Yeah.
Like, I was hoping they would
I loved the idea that they were talking about with New Mutants, where like each movie would be a different kind of horror movie.
Yeah.
That sounded cool. It also, the reshoots and stuff sounded weird, where like, Fox was like, it's not enough of a horror movie. And I was like, that's the first time a studio's ever said something like that.
Now, I will say, the kind of conversely, I don't want to see... I mean, like, I'm open-minded. You can try different things with things. If you take a superhero team, you know where I'm going with this. If you take a superhero team and you make them completely different than they were in the comics, but then they're really interesting, I might, like, kind of wish that they were what they were in the comics, but it might be a really good thing otherwise. We'll talk about this later, but Titans was not that, and Titans did not need to be turned into a horror thing.
I don't think Titans is a horror thing.
It's a dark thing for no reason.
Yeah. But like at the same time, I don't want Justice League Dark to be a PG-13 superhero movie that vaguely has like occult elements.
Yeah.
I want it to be a horror thing.
Sure. But I think you can be... This is hard to do on film, but I think you can do a horror thing and a superhero thing simultaneously. I mean, I think it can still have those elements. I think it can still have heroic characters.
But I'm worried about things like where...
Or characters that are trying to be heroes but don't fully understand how that works. I like that. I mean, that's what I like about Deadpool. And Deadpool could have been a horror film.
Yeah. But I'd be worried that if Marvel or DC were to try something, especially Marvel right now, it would be like... Kind of what I wanted from Doctor Strange, where I wanted Doctor Strange to be more occultish. But, like, it would have the trappings of that, but wouldn't actually be that. We're like, oh, it's a superhero movie, but there's pentagrams.
Sure.
And I don't want that.
No, you're asking for
It's kind of like every time John Constantine shows up in something, I'm like... So he just shoots laser beams. Yeah. Like, he doesn't do magic. He's his Dragon Ball Z character now.
Yeah, you're asking for the style.
Yeah. I don't want the flavor. I want it to be that thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you can't get bigger with that. You can get big and weird and whatnot.
You want the substance of it, not just the trappings of it.
Mm-hmm. I don't want it to be Avengers with a horror coat of paint.
Yeah, exactly. And I know to some degree you felt like that's kind of what we got with Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Well, I mean that wasn't horror. It was just kind of like a superhero with the coat of paint.
I don't mean with horror. I mean with like like general superhero versus like fantasy versus magic.
Yeah, I was disappointed by that.
Eric, what would you like to rant about?
Oh, rant about Halloween candy.
What's wrong with Halloween candy?
Well, a lot of things.
Okay.
So when I was a kid, you got
Halloween.
candy bars.
Yeah.
Now, we've ruined candy bars. We don't have them anymore. You get half candy bars. We no longer have candy bars. And so, like, okay, so they came out with these smaller candy bars, right? And you're like, okay, well, that's, I guess, what we're going to give kids for Halloween. No! We came up with even smaller ones that are this big. It's a Snickers this size. It's bull. It's not okay. And the reason people have it is because that's what we sell in the bags. We used to get real candy, right? Like, you got real candy when you were a kid, right?
It depended on the house, you know.
Yeah, but the cheap houses were the ones that gave you the tiny, like, bite-sized candies. I feel like I got... Maybe my perception is skewed, but...
So, well, and also, the 7 years between us could make a big difference.
Okay.
I don't know. Although I would think that your argument would have me having way bigger candy bars than even you.
Like this size.
But what I remember was you'd have the one house on the block that was actually giving away full-size candy bars, and that was like a big deal. That's what I remember.
Okay, I feel like I got regular candy a lot.
And like, I don't mean to argue with your rant, but I've seen it more recently than when I was a kid. Like, when I take the kids trick-or-treating, we'll get some full-size candy bars.
Okay. I like whenever I walk into like any store, they've got like the bags of like just like the tiny candies. Just like kids have candy. It's the 1 year. It's the 1 day a year. Just let them get candy. I don't understand why we have to keep shrinking it. I don't like this fun size crap. And like the Skittles packages have like 6 Skittles in them. Just give them a package of Skittles.
Well, yeah, but it's more expensive. I mean, like how many of those do you expect people to buy?
And that's on the corporations.
Those are like 67 cents at the counter.
Yeah.
They don't like if they sell you a bag of those, it's gonna be like $20-$30. Like,
yeah, and that's on the corporations. I'm not saying it's entirely on the people at the door, but I feel like I used to get this stuff. I feel like when I was a kid, I did get these things. So they must have had like better like fun size.
This is an experience unique to you, apparently.
Okay, man. Does anyone else remember getting real candy? Not this tiny candy.
But there's also like different sizes of the smaller size, right? Like you'll have like the really super tiny like Snickers, but then they make one that's maybe a little bit bigger than that. I think.
Okay.
Am I wrong about that?
I don't think that's right. And then they make the tiny. Because it's snack size, and then like regular size, and then like king size, which is just the size of an old candy bar. But it's two regular size candy bars. But yeah. Or you get the. You get
I don't know. It seems to me like, at least in our neighborhood, people are way more generous now than they were when I was a kid.
Interesting. Well, I guess I haven't been trick-or-treating in a couple of years.
We don't go to as many houses because we don't fully fill up a bag, but we fill a bag faster than when I was a kid.
Interesting. Okay. Maybe I'm out of touch. Does anyone else? I remember getting like real candy when I was a kid. And it's not like I lived in like a great neighborhood or something.
Yeah. But, I don't know. Like, that's a different experience than I had.
Also, screw you if you're a dentist and you give out toothpaste. Did you ever get that?
Yeah.
The goodie bag where it's like a tiny toothbrush you'll never use and toothpaste.
No, that I
and
didn't
dental
get.
Floss.
You're
a bad person.
No, what I remember when I was a kid was chocolate was a big deal in general. Like, it was a lot of suckers.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Like it was a lot of stuff I didn't really care for that much. You get suckers, you'd get gum. I hated that. I don't like gum. You'd get
gummies.
You get hard candy. You'd get like Jawbreakers. You'd get Starburst. A lot of Starburst.
Starburst is cheap.
Yeah.
I don't love Starburst.
I mean, like I like the taste of them.
It's too hard.
Yeah.
It's too hard.
Much of the time they're just not chewy enough.
Yeah, it needs to be more chewy.
That's one of the few candies that you can't really hang on to for too long. Because they'll get too hard.
Yeah. If only you could like microwave it for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Like butter. Anyways.
Don't do that, kids. So
also put your forks in the microwave. It just cuts right through the food.
So my rant is obvious, but it's worse now because I've been through the Halloween movies. And I've now been through the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and they kind of have this problem too. So the slasher genre starts with a movie where the main character that's running away from the slasher is actually kind of memorable, and where we actually kind of care about them and like them.
Mm-hmm.
And it hardly ever happens again. And it's like, why can't we have slasher movies where we really care about the main character that you're following, and where the hero of the franchise isn't just the slasher? Like, we don't have a lot of that. I kind of appreciate Scream because it has a slasher that can be somebody different every time. Like, I kind of like that.
And Sydney is a pretty likable protagonist.
Yeah, but do we really have one like we're trying to do it with Laurie Strode again? But do we really have one where we have a protagonist that doesn't die that you keep coming back to watch, like Ripley? Like, we don't really have that a lot.
Well, no, because then it becomes something different, right? It's no longer a horror franchise. Because now they're fighting back. Otherwise, you're just watching this one person get terrorized over and over again.
You know
and
they're
just
not
making
gonna
it
die.
out.
Well, that's fair, yeah.
Which is what we have with the Scream franchise. She is the main character of all 4 of those films.
Oh, okay. I've not watched any past 2, and I haven't watched 2 in a million years.
Well, I didn't see 4, but you really just need to see that first one.
I only ask... Well, and then the Scream TV show is interesting because you try to serialize the slasher thing, and then you're actually supposed to, like, care about the characters that you're following, and like...
I mean, I can tell you how we
they don't
got
die
to
as
this
fast,
place.
you know. This is less of a rant and more of just a curiosity. Like, I guess the bigger rant of it is like we almost think about the slasher characters, and I'm guilty of this myself. We almost think about the slasher characters as the heroes, but they're not.
Mm-hmm. Well,
you know, and then like they become the big icons.
But you're also there for the kills, and so you're waiting to see these people get killed, and so you're supposed to not like them. So that when they die, you're like, yeah, screw that guy.
Yeah, and so then the slasher character
I'm
is
glad
kind
his
of
ears exploded.
the stand-in for like poetic justice or something.
Yeah.
Or, like, you're watching it happen in horrible ways, and you wouldn't condone it if it was a regular person, but that's why we make a lot of these slasher characters kind of like forces of nature.
Mm-hmm.
Or just pure evil in the first place, where it's like, evil has a place in the universe, it gets rid of these terrible people.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that's why
But then you don't
happen.
always hate the people the slashers kill, right? Like,
No.
All the way through Nightmare, we're constantly killing off teenagers that didn't do nothing to deserve it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't like them.
Yeah. But no, I don't think you can have a recurring protagonist or
Maybe you
continuous recurring protagonist.
Well, and then that leads to the larger issue of maybe slashers shouldn't be franchises. You know, much of the time.
Well, and we don't have any anymore.
Yeah, not at the moment.
We return. We're bringing back the old ones.
We have some. We do have some horror franchises, but they're not slasher. Like the Conjuring thing is not a horror. Is not a.
No.
It's horror. It's not slasher.
Well, I guess Hatchet exists, but like that's more underground. But part of the problem also with horror is the suspension of disbelief of, so they're getting attacked again.
Yeah.
Like once you get to like 4 or 5, like it would be ridiculous if Laurie Strode was in like Halloween like 4, 5, 6.
It's like Jack Bauer's wife getting kidnapped twice
Yeah,
on the same day.
yeah. You're like, how many times? Why hasn't she just put a bullet between his? Well, I guess they do put a bullet in him. He gets back up.
Yeah, so I guess this is less of a rant and just more of a question, where it's like, can that even be done?
No, I think, especially with franchises, I think you just get lazy as it goes on.
Yeah.
It's just shorthand. You're just trying to get to the kills. But I think that would happen even if you had a recurring protagonist. You'd get lazy about it, right? Like, these aren't high art.
No, and I guess I'm asking for a hero in a thing that's not about heroes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes it is where, like, the person that's running away gets the upper hand and they beat the bad guy at the end, but they're not putting on a cape now. Like, they're not heroes.
Not Super Freddy.
Yeah.
And then...
Super Freddy, yeah. I get that reference now.
And then, and then by not doing that, you can have the returns like Laurie Strode's doing now, and like...
right.
What's her name did in New Nightmare and Nightmare 3, and... I guess H2O. Not so much in the Jasons.
Really?
Yeah, Corey Feldman's in I think 2 of them, but beyond that, I think there's also a girl that can control fire. I don't think she comes back.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he doesn't really have one of those. like he immediately, like, the girl that gets away at the end of Friday is immediately murdered in Friday Part 2. She's the first kill of the second film.
Oh, interesting.
They don't have that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I guess you could take I would do this in comics before films. I guess you could take a horror film bad guy and make them the villain for, like, a comic book superhero.
Well, and you know this is the premise of Hack Slash, right? So Hack Slash is a book about a girl...
I've heard of that, but I don't know exactly what it is.
Hack Slash is a book about a girl whose mom turns into a slasher, and she goes on a road trip. It's like a slasher universe, and she goes around killing slashers as they prey on teenagers. It's a really fun book.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a movie. It was announced... Like, I bought the omnibus, like, 5-6 years ago, and it has the thing, like, embedded on the cover where it's like, soon to be a major motion picture. Still hasn't happened. But you know, that's that. And they do use, she does get to cross over with there's a Reanimator crossover, there's a Chucky crossover.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to check those out then.
Yeah, it's Tim Seeley. That's how Tim Seeley got famous.
Interesting.
But yeah, she goes around, and they have some fun with, like, the weird, like, slasher,
That started, like, 09, 2010, isn't that...
Hack Slash? No, I think it starts way earlier than that.
Is it earlier than that?
I think it's like 03, 04.
Oh, interesting.
It starts as a bunch of one-shots. I think the ongoing starts there.
Okay.
But it starts as a bunch of one-shots, and then there's minis, and that finally gets...
Because that was being published when I was working at a comic shop, but I didn't realize that there were things before it.
Yeah. So yeah, that kind of does exist. What you're asking for does exist. There is a character who just goes around murdering slashers.
But yeah, I guess, because the Alien movies fall in the horror genre to some degree, so like, it's not like you don't have horror movies that don't have, like, a hero through them, but
Alien also has that weird problem of, like, really, Ripley has to deal with another set of aliens?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I mean, they do their best to get around that. Resurrection's kind of absurd.
And the only reason, I remember that from when I watched it all those years ago now, but I guess with Alien, that happens more naturally because A, Ripley was an interesting character in the first place, but B, and that was also a space opera thing set in the horror genre, right? Because it was an ensemble cast, we just killed everybody off.
And obviously also Terminator. That first Terminator movie is a horror movie.
That's true, yeah. But what I was going to say is, you've got kind of a... not faceless, but, like, personality-less villain. So you couldn't really treat the alien the same way you treat Freddy and Jason.
But you can with the Terminator. And we just made him a good guy, I guess. That's what it takes the Terminator.
But the only reason we did that was because Schwarzenegger insisted on it.
No, it's the other way.
Is it?
Yeah. Schwarzenegger didn't want to be the good guy.
No, that's my point. Wait, really?
Yeah, he did not want to be a good guy.
That's not what I read. I read that he wouldn't come back if he had to be the bad guy again.
I want to say James Cameron says in the commentary he had to convince him. And there was a point where he considered it just being two Arnolds.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's been a while since I listened to that commentary. I could be misremembering it, but I want to say, and James Cameron is a storyteller, so, like, maybe he's. Yeah. But the way I
haven't listened to that commentary, but what I heard for a long time was that he just didn't want to be a bad guy again. And if you think about it, Schwarzenegger is, like, never the bad guy. After
Terminator. But I want to say James Cameron says he had to convince him to be the good guy.
Interesting. Well, you're right about that.
But I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure that's what I remember. But, yeah.
Well, anyway, folks, thanks a lot for watching. We sure appreciate it. We are going to move on now on the omnibus to the Comic Vault, and we're going to review a big smattering of The Walking Dead. Eric and I finally read a bunch of Walking Dead. Eric read farther than I did.
I've read the first 5 trades.
And I've read the first, like, 3.5. Or did I get it? Did I say I got into 4? I think maybe I got into 4.
Well, that would be 3.5.
Okay, sure. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about Walking Dead. We're going to do some other Walking Dead things later on the omnibus as well. So look forward to that. And finally, getting into this franchise. This is a Halloween horror themed omnibus, but it also is like a Walking Dead themed omnibus at the same time. It's like a kind of a subheading of theme. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching, folks. We sure appreciate it, and continue on, will you, with us to the Comic Vault. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
See you in a bit.